Hi everyone. As we begin, I did want to share with you the book jacket as a preview. I am different. Virginia Layden often thinks as she observes her fellow settlers in 17th century Jamestown. But Virginia's life is not so different than theirs. She and her family live in a small one-room house with a dirt floor. Her friends range from English orphans to Algonquian natives. Sickness and starvation can take the lives of those who aren't strong or aren't lucky. But Virginia is strong and she is lucky. While her mother sees it as a curse, her grandmother's gift of knowing, quick peeks into the future, has surfaced in her. It is this knowing that makes Virginia's life both dangerous to herself and more valuable to the colony's survival. Negotiating the true-to-life struggles of the colony in its infancy, Virginia sees what greed and power can do to people, as well as how she can use truth to overcome her fears and to help those who need it most, and to find herself. Filled with authentic details, real people, and true danger, Poison in the Colony brings to life a significant time in American history. Okay, here we go, people. So Elisa Carbone shows us in the beginning that she includes a map, and the map shows Jamestown and around it in 1622. So as you see, there's the Chesapeake Bay. And right in here, along the James River, is Jamestown. And that's where we're going to start. There's the Pamunkey River, James River, Chickahominy. Okay, here's the prologue. So the author's setting us up to learn something about Virginia that she wants us to know, but even before she starts writing the book, or even before she starts telling the full story. I am different. That is what Samuel says, and I believe he is right. I was the first one born into the colony. I was the only child to survive the starving time, but those things are not what make me different. It's the knowing that makes me different. The first section, it's divided into a couple of sections. Section 1 is called Memories, and here's chapter 1. It starts off by the date each time rather than a quote like before. April 1613. It is night. I'm sound asleep until Samuel lifts me up from bed. There's our old Samuel. I am small, only 3.5 years old. My feet dangle to his knees as he carries me out into the night. Where are we going? I ask sleepily. Shh, he whispers, and swings his long strides through the sleeping fort. I trust him. He has always been like a brother to me, a part of our family, as he has no other family. I know that he saved my life and my mother's life when I was a tiny baby. I need you to use your knowing, he says to me. I rest my head against his shoulder and nod. I will do as he asks. I will use the knowing for him and never tell another living soul about it, as Samuel has warned me not to. A cat scurries out of our way. An owl calls out her eerie, "Ooh, ooh, ooh." They have kidnapped Matoaka, he says. They took her away from her family and hid her here. I want you to tell me where she is. He stopped walking now. We're at the center of the fort near the huge cook pot. I straighten up to look into his eyes. Why? Why did they take her away? It feels like a very bad thing has happened. If I find her for Samuel, will I undo the bad thing? Samuel begins to try to explain it all for me. How Captain Argall is holding her for ransom to get her father, Chief Powhatan, to send us back prisoners and guns. But it's too hard for me to understand. Remember, she's only 3.5. And I'm already looking for Matoaka, searching with my mind. I feel each cottage in the fort for the sleeping babies, their dozing mothers, and snoring fathers. I close my eyes. The knowing works better that way, and breathe in. I smell urine from full chamber pots, potatoes rotting in storage, and lard from the soap-making kettle. I try to remember Matoaka. Samuel took me to meet her only once, in the Patawamek village. I played with her little baby boy, and she gave me a string of white shells to wear as a necklace. I try to remember the feel of her straight, proud back, her sparkling dark eyes and long black hair, her laughter as she and Samuel shared stories about when they were children. He told half in English and half in Algonquian. Her husband, Kokuum, a strong young man with gentle hands, patted me on the head and said, Netapu. Samuel said it meant friend. I take the feeling of her and send my thoughts out to Matoka. Where are you? A breeze lifts the dust and makes me cough. And it comes to me, like the ping when the blacksmith hits the anvil just right, or one loud, clear note played on a flute. I know where she is. I wriggle down from Samuel's arms and pull him past the cook pot, between the chicken coop and the barn, past the church to the Reverend's cottage. Here, I lay my hands against the wattle and daub of the cottage. She is here. Samuel scowls and grumbles, something about them hiding their treachery behind piety, words I won't understand until I'm older. Then he drops to his knees and sets to work, widening a hole in the wattle and daub already started by the rats. He pulls off chunks until the opening's as big as his fist. He leans in and whispers loudly. Matoka, he says. It's us, Samuel and Ginny. We've come to get you free. We hear the soft padding of bare feet. I push Samuel out of the way. I want to touch Matoka, give her comfort. I reach my hand inside and feel for her cold, shaky hand as it grasps mine. The knowing comes over me with a terrible force, making it clear what her fate will be. Tears run down my cheeks as I pull my hand away. Samuel puts his mouth to the opening. He whispers, telling her how what they've done is wrong, how we're going to get her out of there. But I know he's powerless, and I know that Matoka, or Pocahontas, as most people call her, will never see her husband and small son again. She'll remain kidnapped, a kidnapped prisoner for a very long time. Oh no, think about how Samuel must feel to see Matoka, Pocahontas, his good friend, as we remember that she's been captured so that the settlers can get something from Chief Powhatan. Now, are you thinking, why did Samuel take Ginny, or Virginia, with him? Remember, she has this way of knowing. It's like a special way of seeing kind of into the future or things that are happening. So far, your characters, we have Samuel, we have Ginny, we have Matoka, Pocahontas again. Looks like one of the problems is that Matoka has been kidnapped. But also, did you see where Ginny said that she'll use her knowing for Samuel, but she won't tell anyone else about it? And Samuel's warned her not to tell anyone about it. So that makes me think it might be kind of bad in a way, but it certainly is helping Samuel, and maybe it would help Pocahontas too. Okay, here comes chapter 2. April 1614. It's early springtime. Outside the open window, the trees wear their lacy new green, and the air is alive with insect sounds. I am 4.5 years old. Okay, so Ginny's getting a little bit older. Inside our cottage, my mother is stirring a pot of bubbling cornmeal porridge over the fire. It's our midday meal. I'm standing on a chair, doing my best to pound corn into meal with our large mortar and pestle. My father arrives from working in the fields. Ah, my girls are cooking together, I see, he says. He stands behind my mother and wraps his arms around her. His hands come to rest on her bulging belly. I glance at my parents and am surprised to realize what I didn't notice before. I flash them a huge smile. I want to say, a new baby is coming, but I can't let on that I know. They obviously think it's too early to tell me. I just keep pounding corn and smiling. Pocahontas has been living in Enrico, a new outer plantation far from Jamestown Fort. We receive reports, mostly gossip, as to her well-being. She's happy. She's angry. She wants to stay with us. She wants to go home. She wears her new English clothing like a princess. She goes barefoot like a commoner under her long dresses. She reads the Bible. Reverend Whitakers has converted her to Christianity, and her new Christian name is Rebecca. She will always believe in her heart in those heathen gods of theirs, Okius, Ahon, the Great Spirit. There is controversy over the ransom. You know what a ransom is? Yeah, a way to pay in goods, or maybe in this case, like in brass or silver and weapons, that kind of thing, in order to get Pocahontas back. Some say her father has paid some of it, but refuses to pay all of what Captain Argyle and Governor Dale demand. Others say that her father keeps paying all that they ask, but it's never enough, that they'll always ask for more, because they have no intention of allowing her to go home. Some say she's angry at her father. Others say she's furious at Governor Dale and Captain Argyle. The gossip continues. Rebecca's in love with John Rolfe. No, she's not in love. She misses her husband. Her marriage to Cuckoo doesn't count because it wasn't in a church, a Christian church. John Rolfe wants to marry her, and Governor Dale has given consent. This last piece of gossip, at least, about her marriage to John Rolfe does turn out to be true. A wedding is planned to take place at the church in Jamestown Fort on April 5th. The day dawns warm and sunny. Reverend Buck wears his Sunday black suit. Everyone in the fort wears their finest clothing. For the gentlemen and their wives and children, this means ruffles and starched collars, velvet and lace, and shined shoes. For me and my mother, it means newly washed and mended dresses and clean feet. For my father and Samuel, clean shirts. The Indians come too. Pocahontas' sister, Matachana, and her aunts and uncles, all with their beautiful feathers and necklaces of copper, shells, and beads. There's a hush, as though if someone says the wrong thing, this magical moment will dissolve, this moment of love and union between our two peoples. We're all tired of the fighting and bloodshed. We want this wedding to bring us peace. The better sort take their seats in the pews or the benches in a church, and we stand at the back of the church with the other commoners. I can barely see Mr. Rolfe at the altar with Reverend Buck waiting for his bride. Suddenly, everyone's on their feet, turning toward us. No, not toward us, toward her. Her black hair is pulled back, her skin dark against the scarlet of her mantle. Remember, the mantle's kind of like a cape? She's accompanied by her uncle, Opicapom, who will give her away. She carries a bouquet of rosemary and wears a necklace of pearls, a gift from her father. She walks slowly, her face as unreadable as a blank stone. Listen to that simile, right? Her face as unreadable as a blank stone. Wonder how she's feeling. I desperately want to know what she's thinking and feeling. Is she happy to be marrying John Rolfe? Is she still grief-stricken that she can't go home to Cuckoo and her young son? I know I only have to touch her, and the knowing will reveal at least some of her feelings to me. I reach out and brush her hand as she walks by. She doesn't even notice, but I have what I want. The blank stone becomes alive. So now Ginny has touched Pocahontas, and she learns she is determined, hopeful, nervous, interested, and ready for the next step. Good, I think. She's making the best of what life has given her. I nearly doze off during Reverend Buck's long sermon. But when the wedding is over, when John Rolfe and Rebecca have been pronounced husband and wife, I'm wide awake. There is a joy ruffling through the crowd as we file out of the church, joy and hope. Men shake Mr. Rolfe's hand and congratulate him. Rebecca's sister and relatives gather around her. When I see Samuel walking toward Rebecca, I trot after him. He wishes her well and grasps her shoulders as if he could put strength into them. Strength she will need, as the peace of two kingdoms rests on those shoulders. I tug on Rebecca's hand so that she'll notice me. She looks down, and I can see that she doesn't recognize me. Matoka, I say. I can't think of anything else to say. She bends down and takes my face in her palms. Ginny, you're such a big girl now. I grin. Then through her hands a memory comes to me, almost as if it's my own. A day in her village, her baby son on her lap, her loving husband, Kakuam, nearby. Her eyes fill with tears. I'm so sorry, I whisper. But it startles her, and I realize I've said a very stupid thing on our wedding day. I mean, be happy. Be happy now, I say. She blinks, quickly wipes tears from her cheeks, and laughs. Yes, Ginny, she says, thank you. So here's Pocahontas. She was already married back with the Powhatans, and she had a baby son. But they're not recognizing that as a true marriage because it wasn't in the Christian church. So after she was kidnapped, then she had met, and John Rolfe fell in love with her, and then they were to be married. So that's them being married. So hopefully Pocahontas is feeling happy and ready for a new adventure in the colony. Okay, so I'm going to stop there for now because the video is getting kind of long. So that's the first 2 chapters. So think back to who you met and what happened in the beginning when she was just, 3.5 years old. Remember, Samuel comes to get her and wants her to help him to find Pocahontas, who has been captured. Then it fast forwards to a year in the future where they're anticipating and then see the wedding of Pocahontas and John Rolfe. So think about the characters that you met and then go ahead and jot it down on the Google form. All right, see you in the next one.